Hello, brave people of the southern Cameroons. Hello, brave warriors of freedom of Amazonia. My very warm greetings to all the combatants of the southern Cameroons. Fellow countrymen and women, today is Saturday, the 5th day of October in the year of our Lord 2019. Normally, this world is celebrated as the International Day of the Teacher in honor of education. Let me just take this opportunity to say, to extend warm greetings to all teachers all over the Southern Cameroons and to teachers all over the rest of the world. And particularly to the teachers of the Southern Cameroons because on the occasion of the celebration of the independence anniversary of the Southern Cameroons, we're able to see what great work a lot of the teachers of the Southern Cameroons, who are themselves internally displaced persons, IDPs in forests here and there, the work they are doing. They have continued to teach children in community establishments in all of those areas. And this is a very commendable job. I think that is a clear indication to the rest of the world that the people of the Southern Cameroons are not against education. What we are against is against the brainwashing from La République du Cameroon in the name of education. The watered down kind of teaching that doesn't help our children become job creators, that only trains dependence, that makes it possible for us to remain poor and will continue to depend on them until their kingdom come. My dear people, join me to extend hearty congratulations to all these brave teachers who are braving the odds to do what they love to do so much, to continue to feed their passion, to impart knowledge to the young Southern Cameroonians who will be there to transform our country tomorrow, to make it a great nation that will not operate as a stake on the international scene, but will rise to the level of an actor. That is what we envisage our Southern Cameroons to look like. That said, the crux of our discussion today is simply about the Biya-logue or the CPDM, the massive CPDM rally that took place in Yaounde and ended on the 4th of October 2019. In my previous outing, I indicated that Mr. Paul Biya was going to come out with a lot of distractions as soon as that gathering was ending. And of course, you can see for yourself. I said, you can see for yourselves. I said that at least my sources at the various institutions in Yaoundé have never lied to me before. And so the distractions will continue. And like I said, and you all observed, no matter how much it rains on a tiger, the waters can never wash off its spots. That is why those who were doubting that the meeting that was taking place in Yaoundé was not a massive CPDM Congress or rally could confirm with me, because the meeting ended just like CPDM meetings end, with a motion to their God, Mr. Paul Biya. Of course, I'm sure everybody saw that and read by one of the well-known crafters of motions of support for Nchafa 11 of Bangolan. So we all observed how they managed their charade and ended it. And so it has come to pass that the only thing that those who thought they could ever bring out of that particular come together is some utopic notion of a special status for the Southern Cameroons within the fabric of La République du Cameroun. And I could see my brother, Barrister Nkongo Felix Agbobala, biting his tongue, wondering what exactly that was, but all the same trying to say if at all it is given constitutional basis. And I asked myself, did Barrister Agbobala follow the deliberations to the end? Of course, I know he participated. Did he take note what they were talking about? They said that particular issue of special status was rooted in Article 62 of the 1996 Constitution that has been panel-beaten several times until the final version being talked about is the one of 2008. Barrister Nkongo Felix Agbobala, what you are asking to be put in the Constitution, according to the people who mentioned it, is already in the Constitution, accommodated as it is. And so the rest is now at the discretion of Mr. President of the Republic, Paul Biya, who, due to his magnanimity, as they always say, can decide to give any shape conform to that appellation special status. I think this is absolutely clear. So for those who went into that Biya-logue or into that monologue or into that CPD, a massive come together, thinking they were going to get anything to show for it, they definitely have all gone back with their tails in between their legs. I've had a field day watching interviews on major channels across the world, BBC, France 24. I've read from Agence France Presse. I've listened to a lot of delegates talk, and the general consensus is one of disappointment. Total disappointment, because they discovered for themselves, in the words of Barrister Akeremuna, that those who had to speak had been selected beforehand, and what they had to say was already agreed to beforehand, which comes to the same thing we had said earlier, that the resolutions had long been prepared beforehand. That is why, although the chairman of the decentralization committee is from Southern Cameroon, is an Anglophone, as they say, as they call it that way, despite the fact that a good majority of those in that commission were Anglophones, as they call it that way, were of Southern Cameroon's extraction. The first version ready of their final resolutions was in the French language. What does this tell you? It simply indicates that these resolutions had been prepared a long time ago by the powers that be. That's why it was in French. Had long been prepared and handed in. And so they needed, therefore, to read it first in French before they start looking for people to translate it into English. It beats anybody's imagination that a commission that is chaired by somebody whose first language is English and has a majority of people working within a secretariat, people whose first language is English, but that the first version that is ready is the one in French. What else did you want to hear? What else do you want to know? My dear people, I have said here several times, and I will repeat it always, because this repetition doesn't hurt me, and I know it only reinforces what I want to say and only helps you too to understand better what I mean. That any time you settle for less than you deserve, you will end up with less than you settled for. Take note of this very well. The people who continue to believe in federalism simply were forgetting that what they deserve and should be going for is independence, because that's what they deserve, because it had already been handed down to us in 1961. And so they decided to abandon what they deserved, to settle down to federalism, something they thought was midway that could be accepted by their oppressor. And that is why, in the end, the oppressor told them even that federation will never be discussed here. Yes, and that's why they have ended up with something called some special status that even they themselves don't understand what it is all about. That is what this whole thing is. But again, I want to congratulate Mr. Paul Biya. Congratulate him so heartily, because he has made it possible now for these recalcitrant prodigal sons and daughters of the Southern Cameroons who kept darting towards that fallacious thought of federalism to come back home. My dear brethren, you wouldn't believe what I'm about to tell you. I mean, this Friday, the 4th of October, specifically about 5 p.m. Eastern Time, I received calls from a good lot of those who would never even call me, because they said they were Federalists and were separatists, meaning that we were extremists. A good lot of them called me and said, Mr. Akuro, honestly, it is now clear to us that the only option left in our hands is making sure we get our freedom once and for all, because these people remain fire. They will never change. And they asked me, Mr. Akuro, how can I contribute? Because now I need to contribute and contribute regularly and contribute well. And I thought it was a joke. And I said, do you have pen and paper? I want to give you the information. I said, yes, Mr. Akuro, go ahead. And I just read out what I'll be reading out to you here. I said, take the telephone number 301 898 6324. 301 898 6324. You can use that number to send in your contributions through either Zelle or Cash App, and that money will come in. And I said, if you are out of the United States of America and you want to, and you are about to contribute, use PayPal. And for PayPal, use amberrelief2018 at gmail.com. Amber Relief, AMBERRELIEF BARELIEF 2018 @gmail.com. My dear brothers and sisters, if you have felt as frustrated and as humiliated as these Federalists, these former Federalists were, rise up now, pick up your phone, make a contribution. If you have felt as frustrated and as humiliated as our brothers who continue to believe that they could tap palm wine from tar, rise up now and contribute. If you have been as frustrated and disturbed that La République du Cameroon has continued to imagine that we will remain fools for life, rise up now with holy anger and contribute for this movement. My dear people, this is the time more than ever before for us to contribute as much as possible to help especially those are people who are feeling the pains directly on ground zero to continue to be resistant in the struggle. Contribute as much as possible so we'll continue to make it possible for our IDPs, wherever they are, to have reason to continue to hope and believe in the common future in freedom that we are seeking. My dear brothers and sisters, if you watched what happened on the 1st of October across southern Cameroons, and you develop goosebumps at the extent of the determination of our brothers and sisters on ground zero, at the extent of the hope our people have in that freedom, rise up now in holy anger and contribute. Do not sit back anymore. Do not hesitate anymore to continue to contribute to move this liberation struggle forward. Freedom is so sweet. Freedom is so wonderful. Freedom is what every human being seeks, but freedom is not cheap. Freedom has a cost. You must pay the price for freedom. Some people have been paying the ultimate price with their lives. Some have lost all their possessions. Others are paying even when they are crippled by trying to call left and right to raise finances to keep the struggle alive. You, what are you doing? You have all your faculties. You have your entire physique and everything with you. Arise now. And if you are as moved as I was moved on October 1, come right through and contribute today. Contribute generously, because we need right now to once more demonstrate to the world that that charade that took place in Yaounde does not concern us. I said in my last video that La République du Cameroun had just one key objective going into this so-called dialogue. The most important thing they wanted to do was cut us off from international support from the international community, because they wanted at all costs to portray us to the world as a belligerent people who are bloodthirsty and who are not interested in having any form of dialogue or discussions to end the ongoing bloodshed in our land. Unfortunately, the drama was too blatant and too open that it became so easy for even a baby who was still, kicking in the tummy of the mother, still to be born, could perceive it. They tell us these are freedom fighters of the southern Cameroons who have decided to surrender and who have decided to give up, and so everybody should join La République du Cameroun. The next day, they published a list of 33 people that were captured from the southern Cameroons and taken to various dungeons that will be released. And then we see the name of one of those people who is said to have freshly surrendered on that list. So this guy surrendered while in prison. He was free in Palais de Congrès, yet they were signing a decree to let him loose from prison. My dear people, this charade was too much. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritties because you've had the opportunity already to see all of those things for yourselves. There is no point for me to be, punching again on an open door. We have all seen what happened. And even look at the announcement to release some of our prisoners of war. They said 33. Now the count has been made by those who are directly in those detention centers and who know who is who. They say of the 333, the number that have been released, there are still 67 lacking. And the fear today is that those 67 who cannot be accounted for are likely those who were killed in cold blood and maybe among those who were buried in the mass grave that these ladies captured on phone on the outskirts of Yaounde on the road to Soa. This is why we must continue to investigate and investigate seriously to be assured of what is happening. And now talking about those release decrees, you definitely saw for yourself that Mr. Paul Biya, after the 333 charade, went ahead to release Mr. Kamto and all of those who went into jail with him. But would not say a thing about Sisiku Ayuktabe and all the members of his cabinet that were captured, that were abducted in Nigeria and taken to Yaounde, and who were so stupidly and in a kind of kangaroo trial handed the life jail. Do you know why? Because Mr. Paul Biya said in his speech that as far as those who were captured within the framework of the ongoing crisis in the southern Cameroons are concerned, they may only regain freedom on some conditions, when they must have fulfilled some conditions. And so, they definitely are proposing conditions to our people. But I know that our people have made clear that there is no day they will renounce the thought of the freedom of the people of the southern Cameroons. Barrister Nkongo Felix Agbobala was released on those kind of terms to come out and preach normalization, come out and preach back to school, come out and preach and help the lawyers to go back to the courts so that things will be different. And he was promised a good lot of things. Comrade Agbobala today found himself virtually crying, weeping on his knees. My reputation is down in the dust if you don't discuss federalism here. And there was no pity. Nobody listened to him. The chairman of the Decentralization Commission, the former Minister of Forestry and Wildlife, Mr. Ngole Philip Ngwese, who is a seasoned administrator, made clear at every standpoint that he had a mandate and that he will not go out of that mandate, that it is only within the confines of that mandate that anything could be discussed. So this tells you the degree of intransigence with which they came to that dialogue. Everything was prearranged, so there was nothing that had to be added. They just needed spectators to come and cheer it through, and in the end pass a motion to their president and tell the world we have done it. My dear people, when I talk about mandate here, it takes me to another arena. We are having town halls, we are having meetings here and there with some officials of the Center for Humanitarian Dialogue in Switzerland who tell us they are talking to us about negotiations, about eventual negotiations, and they are going to pose as mediators. I, Bakuro, as an individual, the consortium that I lead as a body, and other organizations in this liberation movement have asked clearly, Switzerland, can we see your mandate? What mandate did you get from La République du Cameroun? Did you ever get any mandate at all? We need to see the extent of the mandate. Forget the sweet talk that you hear in those town halls. All of those are theories and ideals. We are in a world where it is realism that dominates. We're in a real world. One of the things that was put in place, that was brought up, that we should require from the Swiss as a prerequisite, was that they should obtain from La République du Cameroun a written document granting immunity from any form of arrest for anyone who will be involved at any stage in this process, in this discussion process, or in this process for eventual negotiations with the Swiss as mediator. That was never asked. That was never done. And today, that is Comrade Abdul Karim paying the price. Comrade Abdul Karim was picked up right in front of the Swiss embassy in Yaounde when he returned and had to do exactly what was asked of him. Go present himself to the Swiss ambassador to indicate that he had come back. He entered the embassy. As he emerged to go, he was picked up right in front of that embassy. What have the Swiss done? How many more people would the Swiss enable La République to pick up from this struggle before they settle down to tell us exactly what their mission is? My dear brothers and sisters, away from that glib talk, I will say this. There are some people who are already coming after me. I saw something one Uchiba Ochondo wrote about me, that why did I refuse to follow the Swiss initiative and all of those things, I will say, take a look at what happened with the war of Italian reunification. There was a gentleman they called Mazzini. He was a journalist, and they could named him Mazzini the noisemaker, because Mazzini would not close his mouth when he saw anything going in the wrong direction. He made useful noise until at the end of the day, that noise contributed in creating the great Italy that we see today. Mazzini the noisemaker. No matter how much you come after me, bring any kind of skeletons after John Barakuro, I will say it as it is, always, and as neatly as it stands. We don't need a charade right now. The people of the Southern Cameroons have suffered more than enough for over 58 years. We need real things. Tomorrow, you will come, and at the end of the day, the Swiss will tell you the mandate we had from Cameroon, from Paul Biya, was that don't do this, don't do that. Of course, they started that, because that is one of the things that turned me off, because I started inside that process. You want to say, can we make sure that there will be multiple mediation or others coming? No, no, no. La République du Cameroon has said they want only Switzerland. Can we try to know whether this will happen? No, 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 no. La République du Cameroon has said they don't want that one. If you take it that way, La République du Cameroon will refuse. But where are we? What is happening here? My dear people, when you are the weaker vessel fighting against a structure like Yaounde that has corruption as its morning, afternoon, and evening prayers, what you win with is to be strategic and wise. Ask always questions. Always ask questions. Don't be gullible. Because the one single moment you will close your eyes, that is when you will be swept away. Always ask these questions. Do not mind. They will say that you are a minority and the majority are going, why don't you follow the crowd? History will show you a lot of people refuse to follow the crowd, and they were not necessarily wrong. I say this and I keep repeating. The urgency of now in this liberation struggle is making sure there will ever be negotiations at all. The urgency of now is not running around and holding town halls and all whatnot to discuss about negotiations when La République du Cameroon is not willing, is not ready, is not showing any indications that they ever want to go to the negotiations table. The urgency of now is making sure we rather move around, raising funds, making sure we mobilize people enough to keep our brothers and sisters on ground zero firmly assisted and resolved to continue to hold strong. Prepare for the long haul. Let nobody deceive you that this thing is ending tomorrow. We have sacrificed more than enough. On the 1st of October, our people showed us again on ground zero that they are ready to walk this path of freedom right to the end. We must not fail them. The first thing is to ensure that there will ever be negotiations at all. And the only way to ensure that there will ever be negotiations at all is to continue to work hard to mobilize our people to constrain La République du Cameroon to see the need to go to the negotiations table. We don't put the cart before the horse. Ready up, my people. What you need to do now, raise funds. What you need to do now, continue to provide assistance and motivation to our people in whatever way you can. That is what is most important at this point in time. My dear people, I'd like us to note this and know that very importantly, the destiny of the people of the Southern Cameroons is squarely in our hands. We will ourselves either make or mar by our actions. If we get stupid, we will perform worse than those who were less educated than us in 1961. Failure is not an option. You saw those little children marching and singing Ambazonia. What are you going to tell them tomorrow? If when they become full men and women, they don't find any Ambazonia anywhere. Have you asked yourself this question? If you have asked yourself this question and you understand what has to be done, arise and go ahead to do it. Like I said earlier, what we need now more than we have needed before is money. And I want to congratulate these Federalists who have come full circle. A good lot of them have come full circle. And after they made the calls and asked and I gave the coordinates to contribute, I received tellers from some of them who have effectively started contributing because they have finally agreed. One told me, Mr. Akuro, I went back and watched the video in which you presented the report written by Mr. Laurent Esso after he returned from Belgium to the President of the Republic to say they should encourage the Federalist trend, although they should encourage the Federalist school of thought just to set confusion, although they will never ever want to have anything to do with federalism. Say, Mr. Akuro, I listened to you and I cried because at that time I considered it was a farce. But today it is reality. Today it is clear. Today we can see it, we can feel it, and we can touch it. And I said, brother, weep not. Better late than never. Welcome back on full, prodigal son. So I said, where is the prodigal son? Tell him to come without delay. Where is the prodigal son? Where is the prodigal son? Where is the prodigal son? Tell him to come without delay. Where is the prodigal daughter? Tell her to come. Come, come without delay, without delay. Come without delay, without delay. Come without delay, without delay. Where is the prodigal son? Tell him to come. To God be all the glory.